unanimously dismiss the claims relating to duplicate serial numbers, duplicate polling station codes, and unknown polling stations, as for short. Atuguba Adiyira Bafu Boni Gwedegwe and Akoto Bamfu JJLC dismissed the claim of overvoting. Atuguba Adiyira Bafu Boni Gwedegwe and Akoto Bamfu JJLC dismissed the claim relating to absence of signature of presiding officer. Atuguba Adiyira Doche Bafu Boni Gwedegwe and Akoto Bamfu dismissed the claim relating to voting without biometric verification. Ansa Owusu and Eni Yabua JJLC grant all the three claims, that's to say overvoting, absence of presiding officer signature, and voting without biometric verification. And all the votes involved and order a rerun of the affected areas. Doche GLC grants the claim of overvoting, but has provided a roadmap in his judgment as to the figures of votes to be ascertained and cancelled, and a rerun of the areas affected. Doche GLC opposed the claim relating to absence of presiding officer signatures on the pink sheets, cancels the results concerned, and orders a rerun of the areas affected. Bakubani GLC grants the claim of voting without biometric verification, cancels the votes involved, and orders a rerun of the areas affected. In the circumstances, the overall effect is that the first respondent was validly elected and the petition is therefore dismissed. Our various judgments, for the sake of convenience, are handed over to the registrar of this court. We highly commend the services of PKG, the referee appointed to undertake the count of the pink sheets, and also the counsel on all sides of this case. This is our judgment.
I've just called President John Dramani Mahama and have now congratulated him on being elected the fourth president of the Fourth Republic of our country. The Supreme Court of our nation has spoken, and the result of the December 2012 presidential election has been confirmed as having been won by the candidate of the National Democratic Congress, President Mahama. As I said earlier, whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept that what the court says brings finality to the election dispute. We shall not be asking for a review of the verdict so we can all move on in the interest of our nation. Everything in my bones, in my upbringing, and in what I have done with my life thus far, makes it imperative that I accept a decision made by the highest court of the land, however much I dislike or disagree with it. I am saddened by the verdict, and I know that many of our supporters are saddened too. However, for the sake and love of our country, we must embark on a path that builds rather than destroys to deal with our disappointment. I appeal to all members and supporters of our party, the NPP, to accept the verdict of the court. Even in our disappointment, we can take pride in the way we have conducted ourselves. Even in our disappointment, we can take pride that the NPP has again led the way in deepening Ghana's democracy.
We have all been captivated by the proceedings and it is with awe that we have watched the advancement of the jurisprudence of the Supreme Court of Ghana. We have also in the process managed to turn ourselves into a nation of pocket lawyers and armchair judges, and in typical Ghanaian fashion, let the language of law enter our daily vocabulary. It is not uncommon now to hear teachers, professors, and senior citizens referred to as my lord, my lord. For taxi drivers, contractors, and seamstresses to discuss the face of the pink sheets. For farmers, doctors, and market women to make mention and request further and better particulars. Even children now are familiar with the term amicus curiae. This is yet another example of the interest we Ghanaians take in issues of importance to the betterment of our nation, of how deeply we are willing to invest in our self-education on these matters. Ghana is our home. We cannot afford to be cynical. We do not have the luxury of sitting on the sidelines. We must all work to make Ghana work. I know that in the last 8 months, we have had several hurdles to overcome. Issues of governance, labor, energy, economy, education, and health. I know too that because the world does not stand still, when one goal is met or a mandate is delivered, over the coming years, from time to time, we'll continue to face our fair share of challenges. There are various reforms that must take place and bold decisions that must be made. I assure you that I'm prepared and committed. First of all, I want to express my gratitude and appreciation to the good people of Ghana for your patience, especially through the stretches of darkness and uncertainty. The days ahead of us will be brighter, and the opportunities for prosperity will be many. My fellow citizens, my brothers and sisters, this afternoon, Nana Akufo-Addo and I had a conversation, and I am assured that with the court case over and the verdict announced, we can now, all of us, put this behind us and turn our full attention back to building this great nation. This government is ready to work for you. It's ready to work for all Ghanaians. It is my expectation that all Ghanaians are also prepared to work to uplift our nation, because Ghana must succeed.
The actions are contained in the action paper. This is in the system. Some have it. There are issues of institutional reform and other recommendations. The action paper clearly details what government wants to do. A ministerial review in terms of ownership of JIDA is something that will be considered when the JIDA bill comes to be prepared, so that it will have legislative backing. But an interim management committee will be put in place to oversee the activities of JIDA until, proper formal structures are put in place. That is after the review has been carried out and after there's a legislative framework within which it can operate, yes. The actions contained in there are many, and I cannot off the top of my head recite all of them.
Thank you very much for keeping your dials here. We're coming to you live from the multi-TV studios here at Kokomlemle in Accra. You're also live on Joy 99.7 FM, on Love 99.5 in Kumasi, and more than a dozen affiliate stations across the country. We're live on ABN TV. This is the Sky Channel 290 in the UK and elsewhere in Europe. We're streaming at myjoyonline.com, multi-TV world/streams, and this show, as always, is repeated. You have a repeat telecast at 9:30 p.m. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the issues we are discussing are the matters arising after the judgment, and we are looking also at matters arising from the JIDA reports. Matters arising after the judgment or from the judgment. I'm referring to non-substantive matters arising. Non-substantive matters arising. I am already reading many of your messages, and I'm sorry some of you can expect that I will help you propagate those messages. Non-substantive matters arising from the judgment. The show is brought to you by MTN everywhere you go, Bank of Africa, strong as a group, close as a partner, Lipton Tea, inspiration flowing from nature, Valex Lease Equipment, your affordable document management solutions company. Lease a modern multifunctional equipment for your scans, for copying, and for printing. Thank you once again. This is your most authoritative news analysis show. My guests are seated. Abdul Malik Kweku Bako Jr., Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Abdul Malik, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
Good. You can see he's very busy underlining and also painting the portions and marking the portions of statements that he would require for this particular discussion. It's a documents discussion. Abraham Amalba is with the NDC legal team. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Nana Atodazi will join us right away. So will Ni Ayikwe Otu. Now, let's set the ball rolling, and I'd like to start first with you, Abdul Malik. There are already comments about, a certain risk that the court took in giving a judgment on such a vexed and sensitive matter, big matter, without the opportunity to know the reasons. First of all, the delay, keeping the entire nation on tenterhooks for more than 2 hours.
Yes, of course, I'm not an authority when it comes to this legal process, judicial processes and things. But I was a bit intrigued. One, would delay, the suspense that it brought. Why do I say this? It's because the court, much earlier, after the asking, examining the counsel on the various written addresses that they had presented, then set a 2-week time frame. So I had expected that they would have come to a certain conclusion, before 29th. So for the day, the D-Day itself to, as it were, suffer that kind of delay and suspense, I found it a bit intriguing. It gave the impression, and I say strictly impression, that a certain, unpreparedness had accompanied the whole process. I may be wrong, that's why I say it's an impression. But so that was it. And then come the real deal. And we're given less than 5 minutes, I don't know, you may have done the calculation, but very brief, straight to the point, without any reasoning being given. Much earlier, everybody thought that because of the nature of this case, we ought even to hear each judge speak to the issue, tell us their reasons, and then the composite one delivered.
Right.
With all this messing, and then just 5 minutes and no reasons, it didn't help. I think it didn't help.
Right.
But of course, we were told that the judgments will be handed over to the registry for people to go for. We've made attempts, and I know very serious people who are even in the legal profession who've made attempts, and unfortunately could not access the thing because it's supposed not to be ready in terms of the registry angle.
You can call me to testify.
Okay, so all this put together is a certain anticlimactic effect on the proceedings, not a fatal injury. I have to do the balance, not a fatal injury, because I'm not sure it has changed anything in substance in terms of what they had decided and brought out. I know there's that little problem which you lead us to discuss. So
the problem of the error. So
yes, I won't jump the gun.
Preliminary, I'll return to you again and get your feeling of how you received the entire, announcement. I want to choose to properly call it announcement you know, of what the voting was and not the judgment. Now, Ebi, what do you also say that we were a nation that had been put, you know, that was at a certain threshold of a potential, you know, implosion. You may not want to admit it. And the expectation was that, like Koku said, we would have the reasoned decisions delivered, and that would have helped. But that, without that, also may have threatened the process. Let me first of all, once again, introduce Nana Atodazi, former Chief of Staff, and he is also with the NDC legal team. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, did I forget to say congratulations to the two of you? Oh, okay, congratulations.
They really don't need it.
All right, all right.
It's a shared process.
All right, we'll get to that aspect where the NDC's General Secretary first interview said this is a victory for Ghana.
Yeah.
And subsequently he said, making some comments that are being seen in the light that take away everything he had said earlier. Ni Ayikwe Otu. He is also a former Attorney General and is a private legal practitioner. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. Yes.
Samson, let me start by indicating that one would have, and rightly so, said that Ghana was at a brink. But as usual, Ghanaians are good at pulling the chestnut out of the blazing fire. Sometimes you think that it is all lost, but as a people, we are able to come together and to, as it were, ensure that we behave in ways that would bring about unity. Now, somebody was making a joke. Then look, we are all crying for peace, but we have not seen the fighters. Who are the fighters? And it was rightly so. People were rather, as it were, buying food to store rather than going to buy arms. So who was then going to fight? And so for me, the Ghanaian spirit, the Ghanaian, Ghana is heaven on earth. And we shouldn't joke with the freedom that we have. And I'm happy that we'll be able to pull out from the brink. On the issue of the justices, it is not unusual to go to court and then find that the judge is delaying in coming out. That's what I saw on that day. But I agree, this was so prolonged. But the president of the panel...
It is not unusual. Is it acceptable? Should it be normal? They expect a certain, you know, professional attitude from all of us, okay? And you go to court. When you are late, you may get, you know, reprimanded. You know, they are also officers of the state.
Yes, but that is not to say that they are, whilst they were in chambers, they were not working. The fact that you didn't see them out in the open didn't mean that whilst in chambers, they were not working. It is part of the work. And so, and the president of the panel rightly indicated that they were dealing with matters which were not light-hearted matters, meaning that they were actually working towards the ruling. And so I think that though that delay caused some amount of anxiety, but at the end of the day, they came out and made that important ruling.
Yeah.
You see?
Okay.
What also happened where the judges did not give reasons is not also unusual. Indeed, we have a Kenyan experience to show. In the Kenya experience, they gave their ruling and then, as it were, give their reasons later on. So it is not out of the ordinary, but we would have expected, we wish that it is done in such a way that the ruling came out with the reasons, and today would have been in a position to go into details. But it's not unusual.
Mr. Aiko, the concern is that this case is not in the class or category of the normal private, you know, matters that you litigate in court, and that, you know, waiving the part of the judgment itself, the reasons, was not the best.
Well, I sat in this studio and made a point
that the peace that we are enjoying could continue if each and every one of them give his or her opinion and assigning reasons why he's accepting a particular category or refusing or rejecting that particular category. It was a bit unsettling to go and sit in a court around 9:30 and to wait till about 1 o'clock. And the usual practice would have been for the president to announce.
I understand we have a little technical difficulty with your mic. Okay. I'll let Nana Atudadi take that question, and then we'll return to you when that is sorted out shortly.
Well, thanks very much.
Some say it's unpardonable that we have such a delay, and then after we don't have reasons for the judgment.
Well, thank you very much. And, I think it's also proper for me to extend the warmest regards to the 5.5 million NDC supporters, who prayed and held out over the last 8 months. It's wonderful. And indeed, all Ghanaians for the wonderful sense of holding up, these difficult and challenging times. I think Ghana is obviously the winner. But those two matters, yes, a court delays in coming out. I don't know. So what? I mean, it's important that you understand the judges were in chambers. You see, if the judges were not around, then you can fault them. But they were in chambers. What were they doing in chambers for 2 hours? You understand? Of course, we were expecting them to come in at 10 o'clock. Yes, but 12 o'clock, 1, they were not coming in. Obviously, I mean, you could see that looking at the ruling or the judgment they came up with, you could see they must have gone through a whole lot of battle, debate
after
among
8
themselves.
months. They had 15 days to do that.
Yes, but what I hear, somebody said it, I don't know, that the judgment is about 700 pages. I don't know, I can't confirm. But that's what it is.
I understand it's between 600 and 800 pages
exactly,
all put together.
Which tells you the amount of work they would have done, you understand? So,
and that could not be put together and made ready before the 15th day?
No, but there's nothing that says that they should wait until the 15th day, or they should have it before the 15th day. 1 hour before the ruling, if one judge, for instance, decides that we must look at this point again, you will have to. It's a panel, so it's not an individual thing. It's not Mr. Jensa Tuguba who is writing out something. No, each one must be convinced that what they're coming out is the appropriate thing, particularly when they decide to extract an executive summary to present to the world. There's a lot of balancing that will go on in terms of whether this particular word is right or not, And you are dealing with 9 judges. Each one will want the right word, the right phrase, the right sentence to be used. So I really don't think that the delay, yes, we, or those of us out there, I mean, those of us immediately in the front line, I mean, our lawyers, those of us sitting on it, it was a very anxious moment for us. We wanted to know why probably it was all happening. But, well, we were told that, they'll be coming pretty soon. We were given the reason. But the other point about no reasons given, is that the point? I don't know. Or no detailed reason given.
Exactly.
I don't know. They did indicate that the full judgment is available. That they were extracting and they're presenting, as it were, the summary, executive summary. I think it's the best thing that they could have done. Like my friend said.
The criticism is that it didn't seem to help facilitate the peace process, because the process of peace was predicated on how the judgment is accepted. And you ought to know the reasons to help you better, assimilate what it is that they had given?
Well, it depends on the spectacles you are wearing, you know. I mean, for those who think that the 650, 680 pages would have pushed the peace process further, I disagree. Indeed, one of the things that they probably did to serve the peace process was to come out with a clear and unambiguous decision. Short, crisp, this is our decision.
I see.
And nobody was in doubt.
Okay, I think Ms. Aikotu's microphone is now sorted. You were on the point, taking us back to remind us of how you made your point very clear here, that you would wish that each and every judge gave his or her opinion.
And find that you try to explain how you arrive at that conclusion.
Sure.
Now the leadership would then take it from there and explain to the masses that, look, in view of what we have heard, we think that there's no need for us to go for a review. Now, there are doubts as to whether Nana had even not spoken too early, because we've not seen the reasons that were given, and it is that close. There was even an overvoting, that is what somebody put it in the announcement, which had then been corrected again, you know, the whole idea of waiting from about 8:30 to 1 o'clock was not also the best. As far as some of us are concerned, we are used to it. I have sat in court and waited for Supreme Court to come out, and they've done it in the afternoon. So I may know. What about the general public who were told that, you know, this thing starts at 10 and then they have to wait to 1? Then at 1, when you are expecting full reasons to be given, you know, the whole thing, we were taken by surprise. I should be honest with you. When we started looking at the not too very weighty categories, I thought he wanted to deal with those ones because they were in fact unanimous on that, and most people had felt that way.
Okay.
And then we now spend some time to go into
the respectfully, I'm very sorry about this, but I still have a problem with your microphone. Let's take a break. Let's sort that one out. Okay, so the errors, they're happening everywhere. We are back shortly. Well, you're still here on Newsfile on Joy 99.7 FM. This is your multi-TV Joy News channel. Thank you very much for staying with us. And I understand that we still have to wait a while. Well, while the judges, you know, won't answer to you on this matter, on their delay, as for the technical team, you should get ready to be flogged. Now, Kwaku, the point about the error. There was the first, or the original, certified, as it were, copy of the announcement, as was given by Justice Atuguba. And it was to the effect that on overvoting, you had 5 of them dismissing it as against 4. On voting without biometric verification, you had 6 of them dismissing it as against 3. And then subsequently we got to find that the same one judge, Bafuboni, who had been announced as being one of those who dismissed the claim of voting without biometric verification, also had voted for it and actually called for cancellation of votes in particular polling stations and rerun of the elections there. We were subsequently issued with another properly certified or corrected version of the announcement, and that one ensured that Justice Bafuboni's name was not included in those who dismissed voting without biometric verification. How did you take it, and how are you reconciling all of it? Because it's been made a very major debate.
Yes, I've been scanning through social media and even the local media here, and it's obviously that it's become a center of controversy. Avoidable if we had some reasons accompanying the result. But because in the absence of that, a realm of speculation was created and people are feeding onto it. I have to be very cautious in dealing with this matter. I am told that the explanation being given is that it was a clerical error.
That is so.
And that if it is a clerical error, then the president of the panel as well as the registry could collaborate to effect a correction. There are others who think there's a problem with this approach, and that if it turns out that was of a substantive character, and if you read the thing, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but if it's a substantive thing, then the court ought to have been reconstituted, the panel, for the correction to be done. Perhaps an application from one of the parties, which will be served on the order, and then the court is reconvened, and the proper cure for this mischief is done. Because there are a lot of authorities out there that if it's of a substantive nature, a judicial order cannot just be corrected by the registry, because there's a danger if that is allowed. A registrar can change a court ruling order anytime, and you can imagine the confusion that will come. Even the Chief Justice does not have that authority, and I've seen some authorities that if you read Justice Brobe's book, Practice and Procedure in the Trial Courts and Tribunals of Ghana, I've gone through it, and when just to quote some portions, it says when the Chief Justice sits on any case. Which
page are you?
This is page 656.
Right.
On this last four benches, she performs judicial functions, and her decisions are treated in the same manner as the decision of any member of that bench. And it says, see Odamite versus Clochi, 1989-90, Ghana Law Report 14, where the decision of the then Chief Justice in Intem and Ankwandan, 1977, Ghana Law Report 452, was overruled by his colleague justices in the Supreme Court. The second concept connoted by a headship, that is the Chief Justice, is that she is responsible for the administration and supervision of the judiciary. That is if you go to Article 1254. When she performs administrative functions, she cannot take judicial decisions. See Clue versus Crantry, I may be wrong, the pronunciation, 1989-90, Ghana Law Report 135, in which held that the Chief Justice lacked legal authority to order the trial de novo of a case already tried in the High Court and pending appeal in the Court of Appeal. What it means in substance, that even if indeed this turns out to be a substantive matter, then the president of the panel and the registry have no business effecting the kind of correction that has been effected.
Let me get some legal education.
Of course.
Then we'll come
Mine
back
was
to
the
you.
street one.
Great. No, it wasn't, because you are quoting appropriately. Now, Nana, I know that the quick reference that comes to play as far as this is concerned is the slip rule in Order 16, Rule 10 of the of CI 47. And with your let me quote with permission. I'm the one here. It says that clerical mistakes in judgments or orders or errors arising therein from any accidental slip or omission may at any time be corrected by the court, either on its own motion, on notice to the parties, or on an application without an appeal. The question is, if this was an error in the first place, is this the cure? And if this is the cure, has this been followed? Has this rule been followed in curing this particular error?
Yeah, first of all, I think that this problem is, what do they say it, overhyped. It's really not a substantive issue. Kweku, in his brilliant submission, prefaced it all with a very significant statement he made, that if it's not a serious error, then you give them the benefit of the doubt. I think this matter should end there. Any serious-minded lawyer will know that this rule exists from time immemorial. We would call it the slip rule, you understand? If you don't have a slip rule, then it means that the people who are working, the judges are not human beings. Minor errors may occur. You are writing dollars, accidentally write CDs. You understand? It's something that it can be corrected. It says the court on its own motion, which means that the court itself can recall the document. Now, it doesn't say that the court must sit in open. It says
the court on its own motion.
Yes.
But it doesn't end there. With notice to the parties involved.
Yeah, but I'm really, I mean, I think that we should carry this, debate one step up. Let it remain. Let the error remain.
Okay. I have another question.
No.
Let's take it this way. If the court on its own motion is the one that took this decision, did the court sit?
I'm saying that I think that this argument is a sterile argument. It's not an argument that should really occupy so much. We must go to substance. And the substance is that whatever it is, the judgment or the decision came out that 6 judges, okay? In the judgment, 6 judges dismissed the case or the biometric verification. Is that all right?
That is so.
And it listed them as Atuguba, Adinyere, Doche, Bafuboni, Gbadebe, and Akotobanfo. They were sitting down there. They were there.
But they couldn't have intervened there.
Please. Then, at the 3 paragraphs to the end, it says, Bafuboni JSC grants the claim voting without biometric verification and cancels the votes involved and orders a rerun. Now, quite clearly, even without whatever correction, you can see what appears to be a contradiction. Okay, fine. But what does it mean? If you have to make sense out of it, it means that Bafuboni has not been denied his, his vote. In the substance, in the document, he's not been denied. Except that he is also in the 6. Now, take Bafuboni's rendition, statement here, his vote here, to stand on its own, and take it out from the 6. You still have 5-4. So I really don't see why this thing be overhyped and whatnot. I think that, look, we must be looking at the substance of this case. And then we should be waiting for the judgment so that we can analyze more seriously the issues about the why it was 5-4 in the biometric and whatnot. Nothing is lost in this.
Right.
This is a very valid judgment, and I don't think that...
Abi, you subscribe to his position that this is rather, wasting our time making a fuss about unimportant or nothing at all?
About nothing. That's what I put it.
Look, it is a case of focusing on trivialities when indeed there's no substance in trying to focus on those trivialities. The court controls its own processes.
You call that triviality?
It is.
Can you imagine that if it were the situation that by that error the president was to be eventually declared not validly elected?
No, we are actually talking about whether effecting the change suo motu by Atuguba and the registrar was the proper thing to do.
So I'm saying flip side. If by that error the situation had changed, and then the next day we get a statement telling us, no, it's not that way, it's rather the other way. Can you imagine what?
No, they had taken the decision already in chambers and knew the way the judges had voted on the various categories. So there was no doubt in the final decision that said that the president was validly elected. So that matter of whether the president was validly elected or not did not come out of the drawing up of the statement. That decision was already taken. It was a clerical error in reducing it into writing, in reducing what they said in chambers into writing. That's how come they came and got that wrong.
Okay.
So
you're speaking as if you are very sure that what he said, what was on the paper, what was on the paper that he was reading.
Oh, that is so. What he said was on the paper, and indeed, I am told that it was even in the record book. So they had to take the record book and correct the wrong. So for me, I have indicated on your program yesterday that the justices are human beings like us. They will make mistakes. But has it gone to the roots of the judgment? It has not gone to the root of the judgment. I do not see why, after this ruling, this trivial issue should occupy our minds. I've heard a suggestion that the court was functitious officials, and for that matter, could not have done what it did.
Deal with it gradually. True or false that the court became functitious official after it delivered the judgment?
Very true.
Right.
Now, the argument that the court should have as well reconvened to then have the correction made is also defeated by the fact that the court was functitious officials. If you are functitious official, you cannot reconvene. It means that, what's the meaning of that? It means that you do not have any further authority or legal authority to deal with the matter. That's what it means by being functitious officials.
Right.
But if I may
And
just
so,
put it-
and so, if your argument is that the court could not act on the correction, the same way the court could not also reconvene to act on that same matter when its authority had ended.
Even if any of the
but just
parties
let me-
were
just-
to
you
apply,
can't-
No, just
no,
one line.
even if any of the parties
No,
were to
No, he's
make
asking you a
to
question, and
effect
the
an
question he's
application-
asking you is based on law.
Yes, even if
That what?
That
any of
if
the-
you are sticking with the argument that the court's mandate had expired, so it could not have done what it did, your law also says that on the court's own motion or by an application from either one of the parties, they could have made the
To
correction.
what? To a matter which has seen closure, it will amount to a review.
no,
Oh yes, that's it.
no.
Look,
It will amount to
No.
plowing new grounds.
I see. Nana, your
Yeah,
quick
that's
intervention.
close.
I'm coming to Mr. Eko too at this point now.
Well,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah,
because
no,
we
no,
are
I
not
just
sure of the
wanted to-
nature. If this is
But
mere
you see-
clerical error, then it falls within
No,
a
but
different
no,
category.
but I wanted to let me clear
but
this.
I see.
That you see, this whole thing about functions official or whatnot, a slip rule arises after the court has finished its work, has delivered a judgment, and then there's an error.
Yes.
You know, a clerical error or something that is noticed.
If it's a substantive
you see.
matter.
So I don't think that we should be going there.
In fact, there's an
It's as simple
institution.
as that.
There's an institution in this country that has a responsibility of correcting judgments, and I'm talking about the Council for Law Reporting. Sometimes this body, they have editors in this institution. Now they go through the judgments. If they see a mistake which does not substantially, they will correct it. If they notice that the mistake, if they correct it, will not substantially affect
Yes, but
the
that's
ruling.
the point. That
So
depends
Council of
on
Law
the-
Reporting
All right.
has
Yeah, but-
editors
Okay.
that even correct
So
mistakes.
we must
Okay.
first
And they don't
determine
call
the
them
nature
the
error.
All right.
the parties before they do the correction.
Great. Mr. Eko too.
Yeah.
Now let's hear you.
Well, I don't know where to start. Whether I should go to the beginning.
Canvas
or-
all your...
Very well. I was making the point that I thought at least each of the justices would have given his or her own opinion, telling us how they arrive at their conclusions. Unfortunately, what we had was a global judgment, which is what happens when you are dealing with a panel. After the individuals are voted, then the president will now announce the decision of the court. Now, when it started, I thought they wanted to deal with the less weighty ones before coming to the meat, that is the overvoting, voting without biometric verification and the rest. But before we could say Jack, they kept on voting, at the end of which they said the overall effect is that the petition has been dismissed. Now, it was most disappointing to most people who were looking for something more than merely the final decision, so that the leaders who understand the issues would then be able to explain to those who are non-lawyers and the followers, to explain to them that, look, there's no need, for example, to go on review. Let us just accept the decision because the reasons are quite weighty. But for now, we have all been left in the limbo. I have told so many radio stations that as far as I'm concerned, there is nothing to discuss because the reasons are not available, and I don't know what we are going to analyze. It is true that attempts have been made to get copies of the reasons. We have all done it. What I have here is the voting which was read. I have not received full opinions, as we call them. Now, this slip rule matter is also worrying, because if you get a 6-3 majority, then you see that even in a review, if you add 2 people, it will still be 6-5. But when it is 5-4, if you add 2 people and the 2 go on the side of the 4, you are likely to defeat it. Now you're going to have 6-5. So it's so important that it should not be swept under the carpet for us to create the impression that nothing untoward had happened. Something really happened. It put, again, Mr. Justice Bafo-Bonny in a very bad light. How could they have voted this way and voted that way? For most people, that the man couldn't make up his mind.
Right.
Which was not the case. And as my colleagues have said, if indeed they were all sitting there, what else could they have done? Because at that stage, it's only the president who has the right to speak. They cannot intervene and say, oh, I didn't say what you are saying. I didn't vote for this person, I didn't vote for that. It will be too late for them. Again, if they've taken their time to read, and usually all these things are signed by all the parties. If they had done that inside in the chambers, then Bafo-Bonny would have corrected them there and then, that I did not vote for this, or I did not dismiss it. But it appeared that it was not done in there, but it was rather outside when they came. That perhaps, why? Because if it was done there, he would have said it.
This is absolutely
How
unfair.
could it be unfair? This is my opinion.
You
are saying that they were there. If they were there and he saw it,
but the operative word that says appeared.
Yes.
Appearance.
If he was there and he knew that he's been alleged to have dismissed something, when in fact he had not dismissed it, and he read it, he would have corrected it. He's not a young man to just allow others to go put words in this man. So I'm saying that,
I can't believe
please,
my ears.
let me land. It's a slip rule, yes, but what has happened is possible. I mean, it could be corrected. If they say they've corrected it, that's so be it. I don't want us to split hairs over it. It's been done.
But you are not suggesting deliberateness.
No.
In the insertion of his name to
I'm
that
not
list.
saying so.
Yeah, but
I'm saying that they were all there in the room. We waited from about 8:30 to 1. If this thing had been written there in front of everybody, they've all had the chance to look at it and even appended their signatures. It would have made the correction. I don't know how come that this glaring error was presented to the public. And at the end of the day, when the discussion started, we were told that, sorry, in fact, I should tell you that I have 2 of these things. The first one, which was different.
Yes.
The second, they had to withdraw it and give me another one. Why was the need for it?
But my friend, you are a potential Supreme Court judge.
Yes.
Are you saying that? Are you proposing? I can't believe my ears. That, for instance, the judges sat down there, walked into the court without having the executive summary. Okay, this 2-page paper read and considered and possibly signed is there. It's impossible. There's a signature list.
Can you now explain what happened?
Please. I'm saying that. Can you conceive of a panel of 9 coming to deliver a judgment or even a ruling without first the text being read and considered by each judge separately and serially? It's impossible.
Where did the error come
No, but
from?
that's one. No.
And did you realize? Did you realize also, Nana, that even in the quorum, you had one judge's name missing.
Where?
In the first one, yes, they had to correct it. In the second one,
Sir, but I'm saying, hold it. I'm saying, no, let's not shift the goalpost.
Right.
I'm saying that, can you conceive as a very senior lawyer that a panel of 9 judges will come out to sit without each judge looking at the, the document that is to be read? It's impossible.
Right.
Mr. Tudazi, I think the issue is very clear. You see,
I don't think we should want to spike the judgment.
Please, don't let us go there. Yeah. I do not think that is what anybody is doing here.
Yeah,
we are having a very intelligent discussion.
Oh, please. Yeah.
And we have every right to draw our own conclusions.
Oh, absolutely.
We are saying that if these things had been done the way we know them, the way it's always been done, this error would not have occurred. And that is the worrying trend. People are asking questions. We are here to educate the public.
Okay.
But
Yes.
don't
All
right. Escape people.
Coco, let me hear you finally on this point. We'll move on.
I've listened to the lawyers.
Okay.
Maybe I will make an uneducated intervention. You see, this reminds me, maybe this is a very wrong reference point I'm going to make, but it reminds me of the page 28 saga and how it was killed. What is this thing, animal you call sleep rule, which I do not really appreciate. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. But I recall that when this page 28 thing happened, the judge involved took that judgment and effected a correction on his own. You recall that? And that led to all these problems. So I was thinking that there must be a very formal way when something is read in an open court, however inadvertent the error was. And I say whether it's clerical or substantive. Clerical, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
But the way we are curing it can lead to all sorts of perceptions being played up.
Okay.
So in rationalizing this apparent clerical error, I think we ought to do the rationalization well in order not to deepen any perceptions. Out there right now are full all sorts of speculations, which sometimes even borders on the substance of the verdict, which I'm not prepared to do at this stage.
So I continue with you immediately. Let's move on to Nana's phone call to the president and his talk about not going for a review. Some say that quick press conference was good because it helped the atmosphere to facilitate acceptance and peace. Yeah. Some say it's a political strategy. And we may have heard people like Johnson Essiedu Nketia subsequently suggest that he had no option. This was the only way to save his face after he's been defeated in such a manner.
Well, last week I indicated here that those who sought to distort the all die be die cry were not vindicated by the fact that Nana Akufo-Addo and his team went to court. That's the man's nature. I've never seen him as a man of violence. He's never been. It's been propaganda attempts to distort his profile and political career, So he did the right thing. The timing, I think, was perfect. You just indicated it helped to bring down anxiety and any, suspense and all the rest. They called the president, conceded, held a public event, made a point about no review. There are a lot of people arguing about that aspect, made a point, disagrees, but accepts. That was a lawyer talking. Okay, so for me, I'm surprised that I see doing Ketia. I thought he proved smarter than Sir John when he recoiled from all this chief court reporting matter. Unfortunately, his intrusion of late, I was surprised. You understand? The whole world is commending Ghana as well as Nana Akufo-Addo. They are commending the Supreme Court, they are commending the respondents, they are commending the petitioners, including Akufo-Addo. Kofi Annan has done that. All the international community are doing that. And you have a general secretary of the ruling party intruding with this kind of, mischief that only inflames passions and redirects discussion onto a negative plane. I'm surprised. Our president, who is the leader of his party, spoke in a way that a statesman must speak, which then coincides with what Nana Addo had done, that appealed to the MPP supporters to accept the verdict. We must focus on Ghana and for development and peace. And then you have Essiedu Nketia coming in. I think perhaps one should not even dignify his intervention with any further comment. You understand?
But Nana has suffered some flack for that also from his own party.
Exactly.
In the Ashanti region, they say he took a unilateral decision. Exactly. He shouldn't have done so. He was in a rush.
Well, I'm told Nana has apologized within that context, but I'm even surprised. that before the verdict, he had made a public pledge. And the party knew that. The party knew. I believe it was even the party's own corporate position. That look here, we are going into this thing. If we are pronounced losers, we would accept it in good faith and move on. Okay? So, well, in terms of timing, he should have gone and consulted. You know, it could have taken 2-3 days. And that in itself would have been used against Nana and the party. On the balance, I think was the right thing he did at the right time. It helped both, not just Akufo-Addo, but the party and the country. So really, the Asante discord is also a voice of discord.
He got the leaders of the party yesterday at a meeting and endorsed his position.
So what's the big deal now? What's the big deal? He was going to consult. I'm telling you, we could have taken some 48 hours, and that would have been used against him as well as the party. The Supreme Court had done. He's a lawyer, a consummate one, a former Attorney General. I mean, come on. Sometimes we drag things too much.
Right.
Yeah.
Nana said, and I quote him, he said, whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept that the court, I accept what the court says brings finality to the election dispute. We shall not be seeking or asking for a review of the verdict, so we can all move on in the interest of our nation. Everything in my bones, in my upbringing, and in what I have done with my life thus far makes it imperative that I accept a decision made by the highest court of the land, however much I dislike or disagree with it.
I think that's a fantastic statement that could ever come from any political leader with any democratic credentials to go with. Really, I've said it here before, that one of the biggest problems we face as a people, not only in Ghana, in Africa, is that we lack leaders with some democratic disposition. You know, you must have that mental, posture where we say that I'm prepared to accept defeat. I'm prepared to also, accept a win once I go into court. You understand? I think Kweku did make the point. The line is that you are dealing with a petitioner, first petitioner, who is a lawyer of so many years standing. You see, for him to say that he is not happy with some parts of the ruling, it's no news. Yeah. It's no news. At times you win a case, and yet still you can say that there are parts of the judgment you disagree. You would have loved to, because no, yes, he gave me judgment, but why did he overrule me on that little point? So, the issue of being happy or not happy with that disposition, it's a different matter. Yes, he's a human being. His own mental arrangement says that no, probably it could have been something else. Look, our position also is that we want to see the the ruling come out, because we are also interested in knowing how some 4 judges in various cases also voted against that. You see, the 3 also voted. We all learn lessons. You understand? Because we also firmly believe that the evidence available could probably also have been wholly on our side. The verdict on but then the point that I'm advocating here is that I think that Nana is absolutely right here.
And you say what he did was a fine or class act. He's receiving tons of commendation all over for it. What do you say to the General Secretary of the NDC, saying that this is the act of a warmonger who is left with no options and wants to just save his face, wants to save the little credibility he's got left?
You see, I think that we in this panel, like we say, we must move to deepen the peace process. There are some comments, you leave them as they are. I mean, I also saw.
You leave them as they are. The party should not be interested in commenting about it at all.
I read about the national executive of the MPP taking Nana to task for an early pronouncement. Yes, he gave them an explanation and all that. We don't want to advocate those matters here. You get me? But they want an explanation, whatever. The views of people, fine. I'm not prepared to repeat what the view of an individual person in this matter.
He's not an individual person. He's
Absolutely,
the general secretary of the party.
Even then, he's entitled to his individual opinion. You can't deny
Remember
him
when
that.
Sir John made those contemptuous comments?
Yes.
The court said it was disappointed that the party, nobody in the party called him to order.
Well, I don't think you want us to go there because and there are many of them who said that they tried to call him into order. I don't think so. The point I'm making is that for us here, we should help look more on the positive side. Let us push ahead the peace process.
Yeah,
it's
we'll
only
do that,
we are only 2 days.
It's also not good to behave like ostriches. Let's speak to the matters as they happen.
Yes, but we are speaking to the matters. I'm saying that we should look on the final side of our conduct. You understand? As a country, as a people, we are dealing with a whole population of 20-something million people. How can we ensure that we pad up the good side and then lower whatever we think may not be the best? You understand? Then I've said, and I'll repeat anyway, that I think that comment he made, the concession he made, it's a good one.
All right.
And it will advance our democratic process. We must learn to accept defeat.
Right. Ms. Haitu, what do you say to your own party people who say he rushed and he shouldn't have done that? At least he should have had the benefit of the judgment and to consult to be able to make that decision?
Well, you see, there was this program, what we call the final show on TV3, on this mentor thing. And some of us were invited. I was asking myself why I was being invited. I had not followed it, so I didn't see why I should go to the final program. But I saw Nana Akumia telling the whole world that Nana Akufo-Addo would call President Mahama and congratulate him. Immediately the results came out. That is his confidence. That is what he knows. That is what he told the whole world. And therefore, I was not surprised when it came out that is what had been planned, that he was going to say so. For an opposition leader, you need to make a concession statement after, a judgment. That is the will of the people, usually in an election. But here is a court decision which was hoping to overturn the EC's declaration. That again went against him, and therefore he was obliged to make a statement. Clearly, he might have spoken so too early because he had not seen the reasons. Now, as I was developing the point, 6-3 is not the same as 5-4.
That is so.
Yeah, so 5-4, chances of going for a review will be higher than when you have 6-3. So he spoke early. But at the end of the day, he doused the flame. Whatever, reasons people had for not accepting the final decision of the court, the petitioner said, I have accepted it. It's like the Mona case, and when somebody decided to go for a review, what's his name?
Abu Ramadan.
Abu Ramadan. He was told that he has no local standard, but to come there. So if the petitioner, and in the company of 2 other petitioners, they were all there when the man made a concession and said, I'm not going for review. Who are you to say, as for me, I'm going for review? The court will tell you that you don't have any local standard. So I think he did well. He considered defeat. There is another day to fight. Most people say, well, that is the way to go. His supporters immediately, he called upon them, to also accept and help to, bridge the gap to build our country. He said he didn't even feel just like talking about it, but he's feeling it inside his bones that is the proper way to go. That's why I even agree with Kweku Baku that the man is never and has never been a violent man. But our friends on the other side, their strength and propaganda was said that they painted him that way throughout even before the election. And now this is what he has shown to the whole world that he is not that kind of a violent individual.
You spoke about the outcome of 6-3 and 5-4, and that 6-3 would have given you a better opportunity if you want to look at a review.
Exactly.
But the question is that is not how you determine when to go for a review, because you should be looking at what exceptional circumstances exist that may have led to some error in the judgment. You should be looking at what a discovery of what new and important matter of or evidence that was not within your knowledge even upon due diligence, and now it's available and can turn anything. Can we say in this circumstance that you haven't read the judgment, and you are not also saying you have some new evidence that you're holding on, that you could have actually contemplate a review in the first place?
Yes, strategically. If you have 8-1, if you can only add 2 more to the number. So if the 2 more come and they go along the side of the 1, you still will have 3. It will not make any difference. So you start from there. Look at the permutation first before you go looking for the evidence. As for evidence, you may find. It's not a new evidence, necessarily, but the exceptional circumstances that go to the root of the judgment.
Are there not cases where those who supported the matter later on review change their mind?
Well, it is possible. I have gone through that situation before.
So why do you dismiss that possibility?
No, I have not. I'm saying that strategically, you look at the voting pattern first and ask yourself whether anything useful will come out of it, even if you attempt to go there. Because all you can have are only 2 new people who are coming. Okay. And these people might not change their minds at all. Okay. But the minds that you don't know are the new additions.
All right.
So if you do the permutation and you find that it will not work for you, then the advice is please don't go. It will be a complete waste of.
But in the end, you say you disagree with those who say he rushed into making that decision.
Oh yes, because it doused the flame.
Right.
The country is at peace now, and if he had said, "Look, we are going for a review," you could have imagined what would have happened.
I see.
I've had calls from the whole of the country,
right.
People waiting, people who are still not happy with what have happened. But when you tell them that, look, the man who can go for review is telling you, "I am not seeking a review."
Coco, you had your hand up briefly from you, and then I come
but
to
I think in the process he cured the problem that I had, because otherwise I was going to suggest that if we were to rely or overrate the mathematical equation, then it can also lead to undermining those who sit, the legal, the knowledge, the experience, the kind of integrity that comes to bear on the judicial pronouncement. That if there is new evidence, a judge, because you voted one way previously, will not change his mind. But he cured that problem. Right. I think the mathematical
thing make a little correction?
Should not be overrated.
Can I make a little correction?
Yes.
When my friend, my learned friend, a very good friend, talks about the mathematical equation, and then he says 5-4, and the what?
6-3.
It's 6-3. I don't know what the 5-4-6-3 is talking about.
Because in this case, it was.
It's what?
It was on the head of the claim and not the entire voting. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I'm saying that in the case of the duplicate serial numbers, it was 9-0.
That's correct.
In the case of duplicate polling station with same code, 9-0.
That's correct.
In the case of the unknown polling station, it was 9-0. That's the weight of
what does it mean?
Just a minute. Yeah. In the case of the duplicate serial number, their total claim was for 4 million, almost 3.9 million.
Yeah, but that was always the weak link.
Yes, 3.9 million votes. The serial numbers, once that all the judges came together and said that claim was not allowable. It's not a proper claim.
Yes, those were the weak links.
But it threw 3 million votes out immediately. 3 million.
Yeah.
3 million votes out. So when you come to the others where
they were more substantive.
The unsigned pin sheet. The unsigned pin sheet, it was 5-4. The voting without biometric verification, it was 5-4. The overvoting, it was 5-4. So I don't see what you are talking about. This Hearts of Folk versus Kotokotin or 5.
All right.
It was 9090905454.
Okay.
I want your answer.
In a minute, then I'll take
It's completely overwhelming.
yes.
In all these categories, are we not looking for nullification of votes?
That is so.
Yes.
And you are saying that in these three very critical areas, voting without biometric verification, and presiding officer not signing, it was all 545454. Are there no votes there?
There are.
They are not enough.
So,
No.
I'm telling you, they are
What was the
very
margin
enough.
between the first two?
In
There
fact,
are
in
very enough
each
votes
one
here,
of them,
which
if-
would have made a difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
It's a fact.
To 1-0.
Yes.
1-0 is still a victory. I don't understand.
We are doing a discussion.
1-0.
We are doing a discussion.
1-0
So let's
is
look
a-
at all the issues.
Some discussion you don't need to start.
and about the mathematical calculation, he admits, and I was asking
It's
him
6-0.
with the benefit of clear cases at the Supreme Court where the majority upon a review change their minds. There is the NDK Financial Services matter, which is it Osafu Boabing who moved that particular review, and the majority,
Chief,
change
there's
their mind
no review
completely.
here.
All right.
It's 6-0.
Thank you.
But even the recent case, the
review.
minority three, they shifted to
Great.
the
Yes.
Jacob Bechebelamte's Bangalore matter.
We cannot speculate on so many
Okay,
things. But
let me
We
hear,
don't have the
let me
judgment.
hear
That's the
Amalba on
problem.
this one. And
sorry.
I'm getting information that we did not explain Functus, official, but I think we did.
We did.
When we said that the mandate of the panel had expired in respect of that particular, case. That was it.
Yeah,
You explained it in a
I
different
explained
way.
it.
Yeah.
I indicated that when you talk about functus official, you are simply saying that the court is without further authority or legal competence to act because the duties and functions of that court has come to an end.
On that particular
On
matter.
that particular
Great.
matter.
So go on with, let's hear you on this Nanado's concession.
I like to, as it were, judge people in the present, not in their past.
Great.
So if Nana Akufo-Addo once said all die be die, and there were negative connotations to it, I do not think I should hold him accountable up to this day. Today, what are we talking
So your
about?
General Secretary did wrong.
I'm talking about Akufo-Addo, you're talking about General Secretary.
I'm saying you are saying you would not want to hold him to that. So your General Secretary was wrong. That's what you are saying.
By the logic you are pushing.
I've
Yes.
not thought of that. What I'm saying is that. So the No, I'll come to it. I'll come to it. You see? So today I see Nana Akufo-Addo as a statesman. In fact, his concession statement speech was statements-like. I dove my heart for him. Indeed, he was able to, as it were, come across as a person who held the nation above sectional interest. And that's how come I think that the sectional considerations coming from the Ashanti region MPP was not something that Nana Akufo-Addo would want to pay heed to. I think that his statement was just in line and in consonance with what happens in all democracies. It happened in Kenya where Raila Odinga also said that, look, I disagree, but I accept. And so what do we need to do now? We just need to move ahead. There must be an end to litigation. We can't continue litigating and litigating till that kingdom come. I must also indicate that, and that's why I do not want to focus my attention on Asiedun Ketia and the Ashanti Regional Caucus.
All right.
Because I am of the view that the two protagonists in this matter is Nana Akufo-Addo and President John Dramani Mahama. What did they say after the verdict? You saw that both of them made statements that were unifying. The other tangential issues, those who do not command the kind of leverage and those who, as it were, would not be able to change matters, those comments, we should allow them to pass. But the two protagonists, the president submitted himself to the laws of this country.
Right.
In some countries, they would have said, look, you can't sue the president, and I'm not going. Nana Akufo-Addo went through the legal process, and he has come out to concede. So thumb ups for the two of them. Let's see how we can tap each other's energies to move this country forward. The NPP want to come and rule a country that is progressive and not a country that is retrogressing. And so I see the Nana Akufo-Addo's concession statement as well as the president's statement on how the nation went through the 8 months of litigation as positive.
Okay, we'll look at the president's statement when we return from the break. I'm taking just a minute each from Mr. Ekutu and Nana Todazi on this issue. The court had narrowed down the issues. We knew the memorandum of issues: violations, malpractices, omissions, irregularities. Was the court, is it allowed that when it is coming out with a judgment, it takes a different head of issues to determine the case?
Well, I wouldn't say that it took a different head.
It abandoned what it had formulated earlier.
No, they listed the 6 main categories that the petitioner sent to court, and then voted on them. That is what we have so far. As at now, we don't have the reasons. So we don't know how they arrive at the voting pattern. But I do recall that they stated the 6 categories and they voted on the 6 categories.
The question is that, is it not the natural expectation, legitimate, that they would have come to say, these are ruling and it is on these 2 legs of the memorandum of issues that we stated?
Well, that is why they said the opinions are with the registry. That if we go and take the opinions, we'll see how they voted. Now, you see, at the end of the day, somebody finds that it is so weighty that it's even calling for a rerun of the elections in those affected polling stations. I mean, if they didn't feel that it was that weighty and would have affected the results, they would not have made that order.
Nana, briefly on that.
Yes, I think that really the question comes back to just the point I was making. That you see, what was set out, the 6 things that is set out, is said there in the page 125 of the petitioner's own written address. The broad questions were set. At the time, nobody knew exactly the detail. But as the case progressed, you know, the detail became clear. We talk about duplicate serial numbers, duplicate polling station, unknown polling station, unsigned pig sheet, voting without biometric, and overvoting. So they address themselves to these issues. Now, there was a second part to the question, whether they affected so and so. Listen, I don't think that second part was addressed for a very simple reason. Because the majority, or the majority decision was that those omissions and whatnot, essentially, were not there. Exactly.
All right.
You understand?
Okay.
That is why
those who were calling for rerun. What was the logic of that?
They lost. They lost.
No. I'm talking of the dissenting. Yes.
No, there are lessons to
what could have gone into that?
No, you see, you can have a minority opinion.
Yes, I'm looking at that
issue.
Yes, I'm looking at that.
But
that's what I'm looking at.
Counts. At every point in time, is the majority.
No, it doesn't matter. But you see, I know what you're talking about. Looking at overall effect on our election system.
Oh, you learn.
You see, he's going back to his early days when it was more of propaganda than doing law. He appears to be going back to those days.
I'm reading
because I thought you've changed.
All right. On this note, we'll take a break here. This is Newsfile, that's the most authoritative news analysis show. We'll be right back after this break.
I enjoy my basic.
All right. Thank you very much. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile, here coming to you live from the Multi-TV studios. This is your Joy News channel, and we are on Joy 99.7 FM and over a dozen affiliate stations across the country. And this show is brought to you by MTN everywhere you go. Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. Lipton Tea, inspiration flowing from nature. And Valex Lease Equipment, your affordable documents management solutions. Now, we get to the president's unity broadcast, if you like to describe it as such. But I have got some of your comments here, and certainly I am reading condemnations of General Mosquito, and also being prompted about the other General Secretary of the NPP, Sir John, also making some very uncomplimentary comments after the verdict, and being reminded also of Sam Okujeto chiding or reprimanding, or as it were rebuking the Vice President for suggesting that this was a waste of time and that it should have been a 9-0 verdict. We have had time here on this platform to sort of discuss the two General Secretaries. I think we are not over yet. The judgment will be in. Can we take about maybe 30 seconds each, how you expect them to communicate, going forward? Kokuako.
Well, I've had my take on Asidu Nketia. As I said, it was just yesterday's gaffe that I focused on. I think he proved smarter than Sir John in the course of the proceedings when people started making noises. Sir John is my friend. I know of late he has difficulties with me. I think that the party communication, those who are in charge of party communication must be allowed to do it. The General Secretary, I will request, or advise rather, should concentrate on the administration of the party. I don't think he's an effective communicator. My candid opinion. Indeed, in the wake of the verdict, I heard him. After all the good things that had been said by the former flag bearer, if you like, and the party chairman, his intervention was something else. And I was surprised at the tone and the content. So really, post-verdict, he and Asidu Nketia appear to have reinitiated their old style of communicating. The Vice President, I was surprised. I thought he was indiscreet and imprudent in his commentary. Bad timing. When everybody is looking at it in a very measured way, the way he went about it, there was a streak of propaganda in what he said. And I thought for a Vice President, it was really unbecoming.
Mr. Ikotu.
Well, for the Vice President, I believe it's nothing more than trying to show his party people that, as we put it, is also there. Because he's been lying low, many people don't seem to be seeing him. So for the first time, he wanted to flex his muscles. And
you think this is fair to him?
Well, I think it's very, very fair to him. I mean, sometimes when I make points, I insist on what I say because I've studied and thought about it before saying so. Generally, he's been a laid-back gentleman. He's not been seen very much in public. All this while, I mean, we never saw him. And maybe some people think that he could not step into the big shoes of his boss. So this is about time to let them also know that, look, I'm also there. And as Kweku put it, it was bad timing. And what it did amounted to contempt of court. Okay. I mean, he could not have gone that way to say
the General Secretary, including Sir John, who is reported to have said that it is life that triumphed on that day, and also that the Vice President and the President were seen in white, and that is suggested that they had a foreknowledge of the judgment.
Well, I would not want to comment on the white. I would rather say that, again, there was some indiscretion on his part, because it went too far. If you read the content of what is alleged to have said, I think that it went too far. As for the white, let the people of Ghana draw their own conclusions.
Nana?
Well, my own position, I think I've put it up already. I mean, these are people who are in leadership position, so all of us whose word, will be relied upon by the public, we should be guarded in what we say. I think this is the time for stabilization of the peace, and this is all I would say. But at the same time, you see, I heard, is it Professor Kakari? In the communication, I thought he made a fantastic point that we should not also say certain things or put out some rules as though to censor, or curtail the rights of people to speak after the judgment, you know. And for me, when it comes to that, I fully endorse it. I think you also said it, but you said you were criticized even after the judgment. And I think that the right to speak, the right information, the right to speak should not be curtailed. If a vice president is meeting his people, he makes a comment, that is his view. If what do you call it, General Mosquito is saying something out there, well, but when a person is moving, linking, trying to say that a court didn't, you know, there's a linkage. I don't want to go there. It's problematic, particularly when you just got him out. You got me, and I would say that
the case should not even have gone to court.
Exactly worse. So yeah,
I think it was
exactly.
unfair comment.
So
It was an unfair comment.
you should remember that he is on what do you call it? On the bond. You know?
We are
talking about the vice president.
No.
He didn't hear that.
No, on the vice president, I'm indicating that.
Indiscreet.
No, well,
he's such a gentleman, you know. Let me be honest with you.
No, but
a consummate gentleman.
That's exactly the point I'm making. When you say it's indiscreet, I appreciate your point. You understand? That the right to speak your mind, to even say that the vice president is indiscreet, that should not be curtailed. In the same way, the vice president should be able to say that I'm surprised at the verdict. You've said also
you should have
that.
taken a cue from
So
the president.
the
president clearly accepts that was useful exercise being in court. It's laid the basis for even some reforms and
you
the
have
way
said that was
forward.
contradictory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Sometimes it's difficult to want to judge people when you are sitting in an air-conditioned studio such as this.
Come off it.
Because if we are put to the test, it's possible some of us here will fall flat.
And we will be criticized.
Exactly. So, but I think that when these things happen, we should condemn them. And I'm sure those who are affected now, or those who are in the center of the discussions now, would have taken a note. Sam Okujote himself has made some comments which himself are intemperate comments during this period.
Okay.
So sometimes if you find yourself sitting somewhere and there's air conditioning blowing, you think that you have the right to, as it were, attack somebody. But let's keep reminding ourselves, let's keep talking to each other, and I think that's the best way to go.
All right. And always note that the contempt is not over yet. If you are caught raining scurrilous abuse on the court, on the judges, if you are caught scandalizing the court, the judges, you will be dealt with. If you impute ill motives, you can criticize.
Exactly.
It's
very violently
on social media.
Constructively.
Printable and unspeakable things. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Without an iota of anything of evidential value, people are imputing corruption and bribery. It's dangerous grounds.
Yeah.
All right. And indeed, we have to wait for the judgment to be in before we can comment. And people are making comments substantive. What are you commenting on? All right. So we say we have labeled this discussion commenting on the non-substantive matters. And I can assure you next week we should have the judgment before us and deal with it in detail. Now, let's go to the president. The president gave his broadcast. He said, among other things, that we have always held firm to our conviction that Ghana will work and that Ghana must work. He's looking forward. He says that the political maturity with which we have received the verdict announced today by the Supreme Court, coupled with our ever-present patriotism, will ensure that Ghana is the ultimate winner, not any one individual or political party. He's looking at how we move forward. What do you say about his comments, and what should be the posture of the administration going forward? Nana.
Well, I think, you know, like inbuilt in that statement, the fact that he said how we, not he as an individual, you know, but how all Ghanaians have, you know, kind of embraced this. And I think that it's a worthy leadership comment, and he really must be praised for his own position, acknowledging the fact that he's had a chat with and then Adudankwa, and they want to find out the way to move forward. I think the president obviously knows what it is to be a president under doubt, for say 8 months, people doubting whether the legitimacy or not, Now, he's absolutely and clearly the president of the Republic of Ghana. But he knows that he can't do it alone. You need the totality of everybody and the peace, the tranquility of the state. That's the only way we will develop. And I think that really that's the appeal. At the end of the day, it's looking at the bigger picture, that is Ghana. I am extremely proud of this country. I'm extremely proud that I'm a Ghanaian, that we've come this far. We started 2001. I was part with Jacob Etibulamte, handing over and all that. We know the challenges we face under the transition. We know 2009, the challenges we face on the transition. My good friend and I were at IEA, so many other talk. You get me? The fears and, of the other anxieties of Ghanaians. Today we are sitting here, we are talking, and we are proud. People are just, the whole world was here. Live, CNN, carrying on the program. You get me? And I've had several telephone calls outside the country. And that was saying that you people need a pat on the back. All of you, all Ghanaians. And I think that as president, he must be a leader. He will step out there in the international world and people will say, you people, not you, John Dramani Mahama, but you people, Ghana, you've done well. And I think that every Ghanaian should be proud of that. And with this message, we should be pushing forward, not occasional negative comments and whatnot. I think that the president's statement is a statement for all of us. Both.
Should he, for example, have gone beyond simply stating that Nana Akufo-Addo had placed a call to him?
Oh, I think that is enough. That in itself is enough. I mean, in the international, in the U.S., you say the president will say, I just received a call from the leader of the losing party, and that everybody understands. Because, I think the Kweku said something like that. If you were probably to meet these party people or something, it would have taken probably
let me quote that portion. He says, my fellow citizens, my brothers and sisters, this afternoon, Nana Akufo-Addo and I had a conversation.
Yes.
And I am assured that with this court case over and the verdict announced, we can now, all of us, put this behind us and turn our full attention back to building this great nation.
Yes, so that he expects that he, along with Nana Akufo-Addo and everybody else in Ghana, will walk, have a one step together and then move this country forward. There's no president can develop this country alone. No president, no party can go do it alone. You understand? We know what it is to have a fractured country. In 1992 or so, we had to go with one party literally in parliament. It was a challenge, you understand? But the beauty of it was in 1996, when you had a full parliament. There was a full-blown business. So I really think that it's a commendable statement.
All right, Mr. Igotu.
Well, I think the president spoke in reconciliatory terms and rather too general for my liking. You see, Nana had come out to call on his people to put what has happened behind them, to help to rebuild the country. One of them thought that apart from quoting from Dankwa and trying to show that he's also taking account.
This is not the first time he's quoting Dankwa.
No, whether it's the first time or not,
before,
I'm saying that quoting from Dankwa
in the Eastern region.
Yeah. Quoting from Dankwa and also making it clear that Kwame Nkrumah was one of the big six, something I said there last time, which led to your people going to put something on your wall, which created unnecessary problems for me.
Oh,
I think
really?
Yes. I mean, I had people bashing me for having said something, which I didn't say anyway. But the president made the point that we are talking about the big six. He's quoting from Dankwa. I thought he could have gone a step further to look at the issues of this all-inclusiveness that he's spoken about in the past. He's one person who's spoken more about all-inclusiveness, but I don't see it. And I thought I could have extended it further on this particular day, in this conciliatory gesture, that, look, this is not like people taking everything from the bone, but there's still something left out there for everybody, So please, we would, in due course, look at the way of trying to, do things in an all-inclusive manner. That, to me, was missing. And I think he's still revising his notes. He only spoke, was it yesterday or 2 days ago? Yeah. Maybe he still revises those. We are looking forward to the all-inclusiveness that he's been talking about of late.
Maybe. Yeah. He says it was not all inclusive enough, but Nana suggests that his continuous use of we and referring to the people of Ghana should be sufficient, that you are speaking to everybody else, and that's all.
I don't know why Nana read my mind, because you don't need to use the word all-inclusiveness for the people to know that you are bringing them on board. He uses the word we. We is not limited to NDC. We, the people of this country, need to move ahead. And so what he sought to do was to downplay the effect and the statement that he made. But I think
there's no need for him to have narrowed down, specified on, parties, and suggest that the parties will work together in that manner.
He narrowed down parties?
That he should.
That's a question he's putting to you.
No. This is an all-embracing statement. That's how you can describe his statement. And he thinks that it's too general. But I see it as an all-encompassing, embracing statement where you do not need to come down to divisions, trying to segment the society and address them. No. He's the father of the nation. And so he cannot be seen trying to sectionalize and speak to people and say that you come, you also come. What if he leaves the other? Look, if he has said that, see people say, why didn't you call us? Why didn't you mention me?
That's why he has spoken about all-inclusiveness before.
And I'm saying that you are making the point that it would have been best if he had identified and said, come along. He does that, he leaves one out. Today we are here. He will take him to the cleaners. The man then says that all of us, let's move on. So I think it's an all-embracing statement. It's a statement, and anytime I hear the president speak, I see the historian in him.
Well, on that note, I also remember that the party's, the NPP's first vice chairman has suggested that they will not be interested in any working with the government.
So, you see?
Don't worry. Yeah.
Yes, so sometimes it is not just the one making the call. The one who is to respond must also be positive-minded. And if you don't have it that way, then you begin to see that this all-inclusiveness will not work.
All right.
So I think that the opposition, particularly the MPP too, should begin to democratize their minds and not be fixated to the fact that if we join, if we agree to the call and join the bandwagon, it will mean that we are, as it were, shedding off our political colors. You can still be in the train, but maintain your stand on certain things. I do not think that statement by the national vice was in good taste. It's not good.
Well, considering the timing, the spirit of the moment, what had happened post-verdict, I think the president's take on matter was okay, in my candid opinion. He didn't have to do a very comprehensive speech or statement to the nation. He didn't have to. He had to be very short, simple, straight to the point. Just let everybody feel like we are all part of this nation. Point the way forward. I have read the thing carefully, and of course, there isn't much to hold on to, but to this paragraph. He says, I know too that because the world does not stand still when a goal is met or a mandate is delivered, over the coming years, from time to time, we will continue to face our fair share of challenges. There are various reforms that must take place and bold decisions that must be made. I assure you that I'm prepared and committed to make those decisions and to ensure that those reforms are implemented. There isn't much clarity there, but there's a certain general trend. We may want to know what was that he was envisaging, reforms in what respect? Is it with the election system? Is it constitutional the judiciary, anywhere, we have something to build on here further by asking questions. But
before he made that statement, he has said that we have had several hurdles to overcome, issues of governance, labor, energy, economy, and education.
So within those areas, governance could mean election systems within government. If you talk of governance, the election system comes within it. So we need to know. I'm sure he didn't have to give details here. I have to be very honest. So this speech was right speech for the right time.
Can I do a little correction? And as I usually do, my very good colleague, Maliba, did comment on the Fred Owari statement.
That is so.
You see, I think that it depends upon how we see it. If Mr. Fred Owari says that NPP may not be interested in working with government, it would be a very interesting position they would have taken.
As in the direct manner that is being suggested.
No, you remember last week or so, I was talking about, the old man's position in 1992, where you read the You see, the fact that they take a position that they are not interested in this so-called inclusivist, all inclusiveness, whatever it is,
the same thing.
Doesn't mean that they will be anti-government. What probably they are saying is that they would want to activate their role as the opposition, which is also a major position.
In the Constitution.
And in fact, that's what they said. If I read what they say that did I read one of them saying that they will be increasing their tempo in Parliament in terms of the question time and whatnot. That is a traditional role. And I think that they should, they can keep government on its toes and they won't cause any offense to anybody.
Right.
But if he says that we will not work with government, it doesn't mean that they are against government, But I think that probably they would have taken a position that, look, let the NDC government run. We will keep in our opposition role until the chance is there for us. Of course, as I said, good luck to them next time.
All right, let me take a few of your comments that have come in. This one from Kofi Adoli. He says, something, Mr. Eko-Otu's claim on the possibility of seeking review on the basis of the votes being close is lame. Firstly, he fails to recognize that while it is possible for the majority justices to cross carpet to the minority judges' side in a 5-4 decision, the minority justices could equally join the majority after recognizing possible errors in their judgments, opinions too. Secondly, I have a question for Mr. Eko-Otu. Which lawyer went to court to defend a certain Beshi and ended up singing about Woyomi, Woyomi? That's Mr. Eko-Otu doubts the propaganda expertise of that lawyer.
Interesting.
I like that.
That's very interesting.
Who is that lawyer?
Well, let me make this.
He's missing in action.
Let me make this point quickly.
All right.
Laymen may have their own view
right.
of what the law is.
Okay.
But if you have experience in doing some of these things, you may rather want to learn from some of us who've done it for some time.
Right.
And we can assure him that these permutations have worked for some of us for many years. And so you have to look at sometimes the psychology of the bench.
Right.
You have to study the history of reviews before you start talking about reviews. Not many people want to run to go and do a review when it is clear that nothing useful will come out of it.
Edmond
so you should learn.
Edmond Ajiman, right? I was happy the Supreme Court verdict was swift and Ghana is still enjoying peace. Kudos to all the actors. Brilliant speech from Nanado and excellent speech by the president. Ghana must move on. Right. Gilbert Richmond Roxon writes, I commend the Supreme Court justices for their efforts. I commend the NDC lawyers, especially my mentor, Mr. Tony Lita, and Honorable Chachi Chikata for the excellent work done. I salute Mr. Kwashi Aidan for JM lead this country like a wise king and take us to the promised land. I have a lot of hope in you. God bless Ghana and make the nation greater and stronger. Fred Kumi says that posterity will judge us all. And Cass Benson says, I think the matter about the ruling could make people who are speculating to have something against the justices. That's why we are waiting to have the full benefits of the document so that we can discuss that detail. Alhaji Fewura says the Supreme Court has vindicated the EC stance on declaring JM as the winner of the elections. Ekuya Ejewa Alema says so the Supreme Court knows that when errors are made, even in judgment, they need to be rectified for their true and accurate picture to be given to the parties involved. I see, right? So I see what you see. Ato Kwamina writes, okay, you say you beg me in the name of God that you, okay, I should never read the uneducated whatever. Thank you. I will not be invited. I don't think those who are inviting me to read comments that should not be read at this time will get me to do that. Thank you very much. Now, you know about the MTN Heroes of Change. Across the length and breadth of Ghana, more and more people are engaging in selfless acts that are brightening lives and making the world a better place to live. These agents of change, our heroes of change, deserve recognition for their selfless acts for humanity. Do you know anyone who is making extraordinary contributions to their community and inspiring others to live their dreams? Then now is your chance to let their good works be known. Let them shine. Nominate your hero to be part of the MTN Heroes of Change. Visit mtn.com.gh for details or pick up nomination forms from any MTN service center near you. Fill it and submit it at the MTN Service Center. You can also write a letter of not more than 2 pages nominating your hero and stating why your nominee deserves to be recognized as MTN Hero of Change, and send to MTN Hero Spot and nominate your hero of change today. Deadline for submission is Monday, September 30, 2013. You're welcome to the new world. MTN, everywhere you go. And as you know, also, this show is kindly brought to you by the sponsorship of Valex Lease Equipment. Are you buying printers, scanners, and photocopiers in every single office? Be smart and don't waste money. Come to Valex Lease Equipment Limited. With Valex Lease Equipment Limited, you can lease a molding multifunctional equipment which can scan, copy, and print. There is no fixed rental charge. You only pay as you copy or print, and scanning is absolutely free. You can scan directly to email and open with pen drive for free, copy and print wireless to the same equipment. And the good thing about it all is that toners, cartridges, repairs and maintenance are all supplied free of charge, and they supply them all across the country. So just locate them at Osu Akoje near XFM, or email them at valex@yahoo.co.uk, or call them on 0540482857 or 0540482838. Valex Lease Equipment, affordable document management solutions. This is Newsfile. This is your most authoritative news analysis show. There is the aspect of the matters arising from the judgment that we want to look at as well. You would have certainly the U.S. that was accused of heightening the fear and panic has commended Ghana for a job well done. We have the EU that is offering support for electoral reforms. Right. We have Dr. Kofi Annan Busumuru pushing for electoral reforms in this country. He says something ought to be done. The former president, John Ejekum Kufuor, is also joining that call for electoral reforms. Atta Kennedy has also written to that effect. The Justice Doshe said in the course of the hearing that elections in this country will never be the same. Abi.
Yes. When Justice Doche made that statement, I was on a certain platform and I said that after the judgment, I would tell the people of Ghana what that meant, even at that time. And I knew that that statement simply meant that there was not going to be a change in government, but there was only going to be, at best, reforms. So that gave me, my understanding was that the Supreme Court was going to maintain the status quo. But you see, electoral reforms have always been part and parcel of our electoral processes. In the year 1992, we started with opaque ballot boxes. Indeed, after the voting, I'm told that 2 people will take the box and go somewhere, count it, and come back and tell all of us. We've moved on. So you notice that the EC itself has a way, together with the political parties, have a way of ensuring that in the next election, there will be introduction of new systems to take care of mistakes that were done. So one positive thing about this court that we have just come out of is that, first and foremost, it has educated the people of Ghana on that sheet of paper called the pink sheet. I'm told next time it will change the color. It's not always Now, even the judges were educated on it. I'm sure the next time we go for elections, I'm very sure that some voters would go back in the evening and ask the presiding officer, have you signed the back of the pink sheet? Clearly, this whole exercise has educated the people of Ghana on the electoral processes. And I think that what this case has done is to throw out in the public domain the need for the proper training of the electoral officers. Imperfections in our elections are unavoidable, the world all over. But is there a way that we can curtail or minimize some of these imperfections? And I think this is, again, what this court process has been able to do. And so all these eminent persons who are calling for reforms are simply re-echoing what they saw during the process. During the process, there were admissions of mistakes that were done, not deliberately, not, as people said, it was as if it was fraudulently done with the connivance of some people, but simply because there were people who were incompetent and lacked the capacity to do the kind of work that they did. Now, the calls that are coming are in the right direction. I'm happy that the EU, that indicated that they were not going to, they withdrew their support for us during the lead up to the elections. That we are now a middle income country and we can take care of ourselves. I'm happy that they have seen the shortfall and that it is not yet Uhuru and they are coming back.
All right.
I think that in the next election, we shall see much more improved electoral processes.
Abdul Malik, and indeed, when we see the judgment, we'll see what indications they give in respect of reforms.
Precisely, and that's why we are all challenged in this particular discussion. For instance, the issue about non-signature of presiding officer, clause 5.4. I would want to read both reasons, both sides, in order to get an idea as to how to move forward relative to the integrity of our election system. Because Article 49.3, which is an entrenched provision, and the way it goes about complying, with the signature, we have to find out, are we going to leave it the way it is in the Constitution? Are we going to ask for a certain amendment of 49.3? Of course, it all based on the reasons given, we would have understanding. For all you know, there might not even have to be an amendment, but based on the new input the Supreme Court would have made, will give us a way forward. Exactly. So I don't think we can leave it ajar.
The Supreme Court also actually makes law.
That's
so
right.
They will add to it.
Precisely. That's the point I'm making. So then we are moving forward. That's why I find it intriguing, that somebody could suggest that going to court was an exercise in futility and that they shouldn't even have gone. In this case, the Vice President. Clearly, it shows, well...
Of course, when it comes to the overvoting tool, we'll get
talking about,
Mr. Ekotu.
Yes. We are educating the public, and the public ought to know that, on the contrary, the fact that some justices' opinion now are in the minority, there are times that the minority opinions become the majority opinion upon reflection. It may not happen now, but subsequently, when we've gotten the various opinions and studied them carefully, one would find and one would begin to ask, why didn't the rest go along with this kind of minority opinion put forward on overvoting and voting without biometric verification and signature of, presiding officer missing. The three very weighty ones that one thought could have made a difference, as me and Kweku have already maintained. As for those 901s, we knew that they were not that weighty. But for these three areas, they
were the time weak links.
They were weak links,
They were weak links.
I have
That's a fact. They had admitted that
spoken about it anywhere.
I did.
As for the fact,
I just didn't hear what you said. Why don't you go to court?
No. It's a fact. Oh, no, not that one.
For the fact, if you read the address, when they come to classically the two issues of unknown polling stations and serial numbers, duplicate serial numbers. They state in their statistical analysis that those two standing alone will not make any impact.
Yes, so it was clear. That's why
you understand. For the rest, I think we need time to study it. Again, the president told us that Justice Doche had provided a roadmap. Perhaps they all agreed with him. That is why he was bold to, announce it, that there is a roadmap there in Justice Doche's opinion. We are yet to see what this roadmap contains. So as for and of course, I mean, the NDC played this card very well. Oh, nothing will come out at the end of the day to only be electoral reforms. I mean,
is that what gave them?
That's two of them. They were shouting at the rooftops, telling everybody that nothing will come out of it. Today, we are now told that the president's election has been validated. And they are telling us that nothing would have come out of it, but they are happy that the Supreme Court has said so, not the Electoral Commissioner, but it is the Supreme Court that had validated.
You've changed the forum, that's right.
You understand?
Interesting point. Nana, briefly on this one.
Yes, I'm going to brief that. Like I said, I don't know the type of basis that has come over my
yes. But and he has a twin brother called Alali.
Which one? Is it the twin brother who's occupied?
It is the one which is worrying you.
But seriously speaking, I think that after every major human event or activity, there's a time to stop, pause, and look back. The review is very necessary. Even if the NPP or Nanado hadn't gone to court, we still would have had to have a review. I think among other things, the nation itself, we all of us know now that it's a very expensive business not to have an efficient electoral, system. What has 8 months? People are not even bringing in, investing and everything. Somebody's owing you, you go to him and he say, no, wait until Judgment Day. I mean, what's that got to do? So business is just halted. So we need to have a mental reorientation, understand that we are dealing with the survival of the state. It's important. Secondly, I also wish to say that this matter should be properly located in the political field, in the IPAC, the representatives of the parties who will go there must really sit up and then argue their cases out. Okay, you know, elections are won. I said earlier on, I had problem. The elections are won at the polling station, not in court. You get me? So you will have to exact the maximum. Just as we said, verification, biometric, and all that. I'll just end by just saying that the specifics, you know, will have to be dealt with later on. But quite clearly, one thing, the only thing I want to put down, we must now understand that Ghana as a country must decide the percentage of its own budget that it will put into election.
Right.
They're poorly underfunded. We think we want democracy, but we want somebody else to fund it. You understand? So if they withdraw, then we have a problem. People are poorly trained, poorly paid. Just a month or so before the election, some people said, the presiding officer said they were not going to participate because they ought to be paid. These are the people we were attacking.
So
these are the people who provided the problem.
There's some information about the judgment. Some people are misinterpreting the 5-4 on overvoting, 5-4 on voting without biometric verification, and the other 5-4 to mean that the Supreme Court said that you can now go and overvote. To mean that you can now go and vote without biometric.
The decision of the court is the majority decision.
It is just that what they are saying is that the petitioners have not been able to prove that this happened. But it doesn't mean that the Supreme Court has given a license that you can now go and overvote.
Let's wait for that. We want to read.
Exactly.
Let's read the reasons.
I was actually hoping that today would have been our final, marathon discussion on this particular election petition. Now, when I spoke about the Supreme Court really making laws in the process, the Gabi Asare-Chiridako sends me this one. First of all, congratulating the president on the validation of his election as the President of the Republic, and he says that the Supreme Court makes law, but it can't make law to amend the Constitution. It can only interpret the Constitution. Thank you very much.
No. If it interprets, that's the law. Yes.
That is so.
Greetings to him for sending a great message to the president.
Here come the lawyers.
All right. Ernest Kokoti says that Samson, I am particularly amazed about the way and manner in which the NPP conducted itself. Indeed, they have led the way and had added substantively to our democracy. I recommend Nana Addo to the UN for appointment as peace ambassador. Kudos to Ghana. Abdul Majid says, despite the delay, still mistakes were made. Why? You are asking, you want to know. We take our very final break, a return to look at JIDA. You're welcome back. This is your most authoritative news analysis show. My guest, Abdul Malik Wakubako, Junior Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper. Ni Ayiko, to former Attorney General, private legal practitioner. Nana Atudazi, he's also a former Chief of Staff and a private legal practitioner. And Abraham Amalba, he's also in private practice as a lawyer. Lipton Tea. Join Lipton Tea on the journey of refreshment and vitality. The world's favorite hot tea brand will give you the needed level of alertness to start your day. So take another look at your day and begin with a cup of Lipton for natural refreshment in mind and in body. Lipton Tea, inspiration flowing from nature. And that's what is keeping us alert under this heavy air condition situation that Abraham Amalba spoke about. Now, the JIDA report is now out. And as you know, the president had urged caution earlier that we should wait because what we have is not what he has got. Today, what we are going to do is to look briefly at the reports by the Ministerial Impact Assessment and Review Committee, or the advisory group that the president has to look at the report and what actions they are supposed to take. Now, I'd like to start with you, Nana. When you look at, they have pointed out a number of issues, and I will want to start with point 3, for example, they talk about critical matters arising out of the report. They are saying that the following are the critical issues which were raised by the report. 2.1, it says inadequate institutional legal framework, no law backing the establishment of NYEP or now JIDA, no legislative enabling instrument to operationalize the law, no government governing board, executive management team, ill-defined, inadequate organizational structure, no conditions of service to regulate employee relations, no code of conduct to regulate employee conduct, no scheme of service. They speak about poor corporate governance practices, extreme focus on power and authority at the top echelons of power, leading to situations where the Deputy National Coordinator, Monitoring and Evaluation Team and regional coordinators were not aware of new modules which had been approved and were being implemented. Service providers disregarded regional coordinators who insisted on value for money. A host of issues, and they start by talking about lack of, absence, inadequate. Why did this happen to this country, that all this while this was going on in this program?
Well, this is just a microcosm, I say, of some of the challenges which pop up in the system. You know, if you look into the budget, I said the other day, you'll be surprised at the number of institutions we probably have, how do we say, spent. They don't have anything, any business being there, but they still are there. People are being paid, or some people draw monies on. These are things which need to be done. We need to clean them up. And I think the Ministry
No, but
of
can you
Finance,
imagine in the first place that this should happen at all?
Yeah.
For example, they say no law backing the establishment, no legislative enabling instrument to operationalize it, no governing body, ill-defined, inadequate organizational structure, no conditions of service. I mean, how do you start an entity without all of that?
Well, you see, well, these are intended to be social, what do you call it, interventions. And they start as a small idea where it's, oh, let's get some people to help do this. The legitimate, genuine, interest, and like the committee itself said, the original idea is still very relevant. It's intended to be an incubation scheme for the youth, at the time, who may be encouraged to switch from employment seeking to employment generation. It's a great idea. Instead of just everybody going around for it, look, get them together, let them go and dig it. Look, in the U.S., during the Depression years, they did it. Big players go and do the roads and all that. Those things are not formal. They are not intended to be permanent, establishments or structures. You get me? But with time, it becomes exciting, and it balloons into something, and you find out that they overlive the short.
Are you suggesting it is okay to start them on a wrong foundation in the first place?
Yeah, because they were not intended to be permanent, organizations. Workers' brigade, people are unemployed. So you want people who go and farm and then will do that. In when we were young men at the university, one day there was a great idea. Let's go and cut a canal from the way out to the what do you call it? The From River, the Volta River. All the university students, we went out there. No budget, nothing.
Secondary school.
Yes, we all went there. Thousands of us to undertake a very legitimate job. So there was no board of directors, there was no organization. We were just there, utilize it. That's how, say, National Service also grew up. All these establishments were initially intended to be for good purposes. They were intended to be short-term arrangements.
It doesn't matter that the law dictates how you spend money from the consolidated fund.
Well, these are, you see this, what you tell me, ex post facto rationalization. At the time, you have a problem on your hands and you want to undertake it. Workers' Brigade, I'm talking about First Republic. So, they were all over the country. Second Republic, we also had people out there. Every government has a business of creating employment for its people or assisting them to generate income. And that's the problem. You have graduate unemployment. Thousands of graduates have turned out and they are working. It's a pain.
So when they are poorly established and people who are criticizing the anti-corruption agencies are right to say that these are entities set up simply to divert funds, siphon funds for political campaign, political activity.
I would wholly disagree with them that they were intended initially to be that. You understand? They were intended. The purpose for their creation, obviously, honorable. Because they were not put into clear systems, then the scheme is abused. Get me? Then suddenly everybody realizes that we need to streamline it, and then we find ourselves in this kind of situation. So to listen these things should be a lesson to us. And then I think it's also a weakness in our own budgeting and monitoring system in governance. You get me? And it's listed.
We will look at the recommendations for far-reaching measures to deal with the institutional and systematic failures that have been identified. That's what the report says. Now, Abdul Malik, sounds to me from the way they enumerate the challenges, the difficulties as they have gathered them from the report, it's an endorsement of one of your favorites, expressions. This is symptomatic of the ineptitude, whatever in public, in public service.
Yes, I agree. And from day one to today, it's a shame. I mean, from 2006 to 2013, 7 years. It's a failure on the part of this country. I mean, but those that we entrusted leadership with, let's be specific and point blank. So it's nothing to be proud of. I've been looking at the report. I got a copy last night, so I have not been able to do an extensive study and do a comparative analysis between that and
the other one.
The other one that was labeled
Me
draft.
too. The only aspect I have checked is the number of pages, but that can change depending on where you are printing from.
And I'm supposing that this final report, it's a bit intriguing. It's dated July 15th, 2013. The draft was just dated July 2013. So I'm not too sure about that. What I find quite worrying is that even the committee, we are told, both in this action plan and some portions of the final report, that the committee did not have access to all information. The committee was constrained by time. Why? It doesn't make sense to me. The all information, perhaps, depending on, they're talking of some contracts that they didn't have. I thought we had a law in this country where copies of contracts, public contracts, must be lodged with archives, apart from the copies that those people have. So we're not even doing what the law says we must do. I've forgotten the law. Is it the contracts and property state?
Yes.
Yes.
My understanding is lodging them with the Attorney General's Department, first of all.
Yes, but there must be a copy too, even with archives.
Okay.
And we're not doing any of those things. So here we are being told that contracts between 2006 2008 cannot be found. It's a terrible indictment on how we manage our country. And then also we are told that action should be taken by Attorney General's Department, police. This goes to the area of allegation of corruptions, financial maladministration, and all the rest. We will hold our fire there, do thorough investigations into the two reports to do a comparison and find out if there are any missing links. So at this stage, I agree, where you've directed us to focus on the institutional thing, because none of us had a chance to look at.
All right.
But
you can proceed to the other actions that are being recommended or the lapses that have been discovered.
Yes, you see, for instance, the point about the drafting the JIDA bill, which must be placed before Parliament. That, I think, is long overdue, at least it can take care of the sources of funding. Because you realize that they are picking monies from the communication service tax, get fund, all the rest, and it had no legal basis. That's very, very serious, you know. So clearly, I believe if they were to go to Parliament with a bill, it may consider how to fund this project and perhaps give them the right to take monies from some of this national insurance levy and all the rest. You know, so it's something that is in the right direction, you know, in terms of the recommendations given.
All right, I'll return to you about what sanctions we are supposed to see, especially with those who have been indicted in this report. Abi, you look at 2.5, inadequate financial oversight, no audit report implementation committee or an internal audit function, although the Ministry of Youth and Sports and JIDA are involved in financial decisions, especially with respect to procuring service providers. Disregard for Auditor General's findings on weaknesses in the financial practices of JIDA. Payments to service providers were not done after checks to ensure payments were actually in respect of beneficiaries who actually benefited from the program. You have 2.6, inadequate project definition, evaluation, and award procedures. No strategic plan to form the basis for the acquisition and provision of services by JIDA. Initiatives from conceptualization models, planning, and execution were largely controlled by the service providers and not based on properly identified and defined demands by JIDA or government. Models approved individually without recourse to a general program direction and coordination of the processes for initiating, planning, execution, monitoring, and all sorts of things. It just, all of this just gives you a picture of how shambolic, if I can pronounce that, on how the system itself has been.
Samson, the greatest mistake, and I said it on this platform, that the NDC government did, was to just inherit this project and program without tinkering with it, you know, and just went along. You know,
went along and piled up.
Actually compounded the problem it inherited.
These are your words. And so the point is that you look at the NHIS, the NDC has come and has tinkered with it. Indeed, they have put in measures which I'm now told that is yielding dividends in terms of leakages, you know. The NHIS, the National Health Insurance Scheme has recorded some profits, you know. This is what we should have done to this project. Unfortunately, we just came and went along with it.
But and compounded it.
And Kokuba, when it's your turn, you can add as well.
Just admit this.
The issue is this. There's nothing wrong with an institution being set up, but later have a legal regime to legitimize it. There's not, most institutions started that way. So the lack of legal framework is not so fatal, but that is not to say that that institution, which is not backed by law, should not be governed by other laws in terms of procurement. There's a Procurement Act. And once you are a state organization, whether you have a legal regime or not, that act governs the way you should procure things.
That is it.
So there's no excuse there. And so I'm not about to make any excuses for that. I think that what is important is that for me now, our lenses have been zeroed in on that institution. We have a white paper, an action paper that seeks to have identified the problems, and we are now going to make the right things. Yes, some money has gone down the drain, but I'm told that in this report, some people are supposed to refund. Let's follow through that and get the refund. But what is now happening is a clear case of the fact that that report that Kokubako and my senior Ayuko said that it was never going to come has come. The president has fulfilled his promise to make the statement available.
Did we
It
say
is
it
available?
will never come?
There
recall
was
saying that.
concern about the delay and
But
how
I
the
don't
delay was
recall-
even affecting people who had been indicted. Or
That's
accused.
right, but I don't recall.
Who determines delay?
Cover it up.
The president has fulfilled his promise to put the document out there. It is out there, and we can now discuss it.
All right. Now, Mr. Aikwetu,
Let's leave the president out.
check this, and if you won't say that is a further indictment on the managers of the program. Point 2.7: inadequate policy direction, control, and supervision. Lack of strategic direction. What kind of organization works like that? Ministerial execution of MOUs without proper recourse to the Attorney General. And you have requisite level of influence, commitment, circumspection, and or leadership required for political leadership of the Sports Ministry, Youth and Sports Ministry, and the National Coordinator of JIDA was not exercised at all times.
Well, let me start by saying broadly that I agree with Nane's submission. We have policies and we have statutes. You may start something with policy. Policy may come from cabinet,
Right.
Trickle down to the ministries, or even the minister in charge can come out with a policy which can be followed through. Now, if they had been set up by statutes, then clearly they would have gone to Parliament in the first place, and it would have been debated. Then the objectives and all that we expect them to do would have been in the statutes incorporating them. We don't have those things. They appear to be policies. But we are looking at government funds, and that's where the problem lies. When public funds are being used and then there's no proper accountability, then people begin to worry. So all these things that we find in the report are largely true because they were not properly set up in terms of the legalese. We did not go to Parliament to have a statute and all that. Now, the area of concern is what to do with the recommendations,
Right.
especially those who have been found to be, to be culpable.
Yes.
We don't see those names here anymore. We now have a broad term of certain people who are to be referred to the AG's department and the police.
And Iyoko.
I believe that sometimes we have to look at the police investigation first, because you need to build a docket. You need statements from those people who are affected, before you send it to the AG's department for advice. I don't know whether they are looking at a teamwork of Iyoko and police coming together, but otherwise, once we have a working document, I think it should now go to the police CID for them to build the dockets and then take it from there. It's not been the best, but I agree largely with what Nana said, that there was this policy to ensure that people found work to do. And so, on the spur of the moment, said, let's set up the National Youth Employment Program. So we set it up, and it worked for some time. As Kweku has also said, the problem has been compounded because it's become like somebody's baby, where you push all sorts of things there. And if you look at the names of those, the prayers who had, gotten themselves involved in this mess, you find where their leanings are and all that. So, do we want to build a strong institution then? If we want to build a strong institution, then allow those who are going to be... We know them.
Mr. Aikwetu, there is huge skepticism that by the actions and directives where the individuals who were indicted, they are being asked in the name of natural justice. That's what it says, in the name of natural justice. That Iyoko and the Attorney General's Department, as well as the police CID, have been directed to commence action against all persons and organizations cited in the report in respect of financial, administrative improprieties, as well as retrieval of the monies to the state. There's skepticism that these people might be protected because they have links to the governing party, most of them, and that's also, they may never go to court.
You see, the whole idea of natural justice
creates the impression that those individuals were never given a hearing at all. And I don't think that is the position. They've been heard. You know, the fact that they are now to account because of the recommendation that they should go there and account does not mean that it is now being done in the area of in the interest of natural justice. I think that we are reversing roles.
Yes,
If you are going to prosecute them in the first place, so be sure that you have evidence.
Exactly.
You are going to prove it beyond reasonable doubt.
Embedded in the prosecution is the rules of natural justice.
No, that is why I'm talking
So
about CID to
You don't
build
agree
the
with
docket.
him. You
I
don't agree with him
that,
that it is not the job of the Yoko, it is not the job of the CID or the police to afford the opportunity of natural justice in this matter.
It is in the paper. It says that in the interest of natural justice, let Yoko take up the matter, but it is not Yoko that is affording them the opportunity of natural justice.
But what are they supposed to do? That's the directive.
What would Yoko do? They may prosecute them.
They don't have the power to prosecute anybody.
So I'm saying that what would those
They
investigating
will
bodies
recommend
do?
to Attorney
They
General.
would have to prosecute them, or Attorney General will have to prosecute them. In court, wherever the problem is, the rules of natural justice are played out there. So
Are we not told of some of these people giving evidence and admitting to certain things?
So you
What
don't
is the
just so
natural
you don't
justice
just
here?
tell them that refund the money. You don't just tell them that do this. This document cannot give orders to those people to, as it were, remedy the situation. So what you do is to afford them an opportunity to also be heard in court. And the apex body when it comes to the rules of natural justice is a court. So that's why the paper is saying.
Are you saying the government cannot issue a white paper? Help your colleagues.
During the process, these individuals were interviewed. Their names and telephone numbers have been provided for contact if you want to. Is that not natural justice?
It may not be natural justice.
What else do you see is being asked to be done?
Particularity.
So what are we talking about natural justice? Essentially, the key thing is a right to be heard. You know, I think that right to be heard cannot be partial. If, for instance, you call me, I appear before you, and I don't have my papers all together.
There are these allegations against you. How do you respond to them? And you respond to them.
Yes, sir. I said I have papers I would want to bring to you. It's enough. You appear before us. It's enough. I want you to read back.
But what you're saying, is it reflected in the report?
I'm saying
that people appeared before them and said we don't have documents.
I'm saying let's read back what they've said. And I'm only going by what it said.
All right.
It said that the Ministerial
Impact Assessment and Review Committee admits
that they did not have access to all information they would have required and did not have enough time to get into greater details on certain other aspects of the report.
Did they request for extension of time?
So no, but I'm saying that this is the
Why
way we are
didn't
going
they?
back.
Yeah, we are going by the
The-
report.
the
Didn't
point
you
I'm
say
saying
it
that-
was unnecessary?
No.
The report had been done already. Then you say you were going for another review.
and
Now you are telling us that the review committee didn't have
let's
time.
not also forget.
You
Let
are not
it
telling us
let
the
it
review
not
committee didn't have
escape
time.
us that this is not the first report. This is not the first
So
committee.
why? This is a
This
mess.
about
let's
the
not forget-
fourth or fifth.
Okay, but let's not forget that at this place, I'm surprised. Kweku has been the protagonist for giving people the chance to clear their name. He didn't mention
Sure. I still stand by that.
We have others who didn't
That's
get
why I'm asking,
enough.
why didn't the
Now-
committee ask for extension of time? Why are
No,
we now
so-
being
so
told this?
If I will learn, if I may learn, you see, what in effect is here is that there was a likelihood, a potential of a further committee being set up to clean up. But obviously that would have been ridiculous.
But yes.
So they said, they said that having regard to the fact that there are complaints that the people didn't have enough time and access to whatnot. Okay, these matters are sent to the prosecution wing. But please afford them opportunity to produce.
Who are you
This thing has been
pleasing?
poorly
Who
managed
are you
from day one.
pleasing by fast tracking this
But
thing?
no, but we
Who
were
are you pleasing?
sitting here saying people's reputation should
That
not
is
be
a
destroyed.
fact.
We can't say
From
what
day
is-
one, it
what are you
was poorly
alluding
managed.
to?
Let's listen to this
Simple
statement.
as that.
It also
Poorly
it is-
managed.
It is also known that the committee was unable to interrogate some of the individuals
Mentioned
mentioned
in the
in the
report.
report.
Which committee? Which of them?
The
We are talking about
ministerial.
this.
Which
The
of them? Was
ministerial-
it the ministerial?
Yes.
The ministerial one.
Comment.
They couldn't.
And they didn't
And
request.
this amounts to breach of the rules
And you
of
mean
natural
the
justice.
second committee didn't also have
No,
time
the
to
second
call
committee
them?
was not supposed to invite people to come.
Why?
It was just to review
They were
the
to
report.
validate the whole
no,
thing.
No. So the findings now.
They were to
the findings.
validate it.
The
The
handling
finding
is
is
poor.
that
Simple.
because the people were not given a fair hearing, let's give them the opportunity to be heard. It's here. It's born out here.
It is the
All right.
personalities
I'm not
that is
the
creating
one
the
who's
difficulties.
working out of it.
Kweku sitting here
Coloration.
making a very loud
Coloration.
claim. He made a very loud claim that people should be given an opportunity.
Yes,
people
I
are
still
not
stand
given
by
an
that.
opportunity.
I stand
we are
by that.
complaining.
No, I'm
his
consistent.
point-
I'm not
His point,
complaining.
his point
But
was
let
that
me say, I
his
want-
point was that the report was being released in bits.
Yes.
No,
and
beyond
people
that.
were being indicted.
Yes.
No,
They
beyond
don't
that.
have the full benefit of the report to be able to react to them.
Yes,
And that was
exactly.
You said that you had certain
Exactly.
papers. You said you had certain
Which
papers
which proved.
were not presented to the committee.
Yes, I did.
You said it here.
Yes, I said.
So you
I'm
had
saying
the
that the
second
whole idea of
bite.
natural justice is to give a person the opportunity. You see, the opportunity clause is very important.
I agree.
Did the person have the opportunity of presenting?
Shifting
So why
the
didn't the
goalposts.
It's a
committee ask
constitutional
for an
demand.
extension of
Of
time?
time to
It's a
work.
That's the
constitutional
question I'm
demand.
asking. The original committee, couldn't it have asked for extension of time from the appointing authority in order to complete the work?
Yeah, that is
Couldn't
the
it-
but that is the
Is
weakness
this-
that the policy maker out here recognized, and he's indicated it. He said, as a result, instead of setting up another committee, we are advising that
credibility crisis was avoidable.
prosecutorial team should give the people an opportunity to provide whatever they
It
have.
was so avoidable. This
You and
credibility
I
crisis
know.
was
You and I
warranted.
know
But you
that
can't fault
in a
that.
criminal trial,
Yes.
your clients will get out when you create more confusion.
Yeah.
You and I know.
You have a first committee that has indicted them.
Yeah.
And on what basis did it indict them?
That's a serious-
And then you have a next
That's
level
creating more
in which you are going to
confusion.
afford.
That the first
another
committee
opportunity.
breached the rules of natural justice.
Quality
Then
of
set it
handling.
aside.
The quality
Set
of
it aside
handling
and
is
start
below
all over
par.
again.
Let me tell you. Let me give you just a peek into what people's skepticism.
handling.
Okay,
I'm not
this
surprised.
One, Yakubu Adam says the least said about the JIDA report, the better, because even a person would not be retrieved out of all this mistake judgment death pain. Sambiaku says even the name JIDA puts me off. What happened to our sense of branding? Whoops. Okay. There are those who are still interested in knowing why ICO 2 was not part of the petitioner's legal team. Okay. Have we had the opportunity to ask you that question directly?
No, I have refused to answer it anyway.
That there are claims that you were part of it initially and then you were removed,
You were removed.
subsequently?
No, I don't want to
Actually-
discuss it.
Actually,
No, but
booted
wait.
out.
I see.
I would not like to discuss
Were you
this
booted
matter.
out?
No, I'm told it was personality conflict issues with some of the lawyers.
This is
You are
rumor
told.
mongering.
This is
I hear
rumor
it was
mongering.
kicked out.
Rumor mongering.
This is
I hear
rumor
it was-
mongering.
you were kicked out.
This
Right.
is rumor mongering.
Okay.
But
Let
wait,
me.
have you been restored?
Against a champion's laws.
Yes, say it again.
And yet he's the chair of the legal and constitutional committee.
Were you restored?
I cannot sense some mischief. I smell mischief.
I will not discuss it.
Okay, so let me bring you a few more of the messages before we draw the curtains, and quite a number of them on Nanado, commending him and asking that he be recognized appropriately. Somebody asked whether we can describe the judgment as what? Okay, you don't have the benefit of the judgment, so you can't describe it as anything on my show. Okay, quite a number of you still on Nanado. All right, this one, okay, too much of Nanado, right? And this one, Emmanuel Kofi Amwa says, Kweku Bako Jr., stop referring to yourself as street lawyer. You are a great mind and better. Okay, I'll end it
I don't
there.
want a Justice Pega chasing me all over the place.
Okay. All right.
may not be available
Atiguba
after next
JSC thanked KPMG instead of. Okay, he said thank KMG instead of. He said
That was
PKMG.
some- yeah.
That was a slip. You can always
was a
forgive
slip.
that. This
That's
was
a
Like the
clerical
Supreme
error.
Court, eh? Like the Supreme Court.
Okay. The questions, some of the, quite a good number of the questions I would say are premature. They are on the substantive matters themselves. And like we said, next week we should have the judgment and would have had the opportunity of reading all the 600 to 800 page documents, and we'll be able to bring you further and better particulars. Like the president said, we are all now lawyers.
That's
we
right.
know further and better particulars, amicus curiae, and all of those things. Now, Mr. Aikotu, we are going into a week that it may be possible that early the judgment may not be available. Even if it is available, people will not have the benefit of reading it extensively before they get into the discussion. But you can't stop the discussions. They are still going on. And I've heard some very wild discussions going on. In a minute, you and Nana Atodazi give an advice to the general public as to how they should go about commenting ahead of receiving the document.
Yes, I think that I would say that it doesn't help anybody to put the cart before the horse, you know, as they say. If you haven't read the document, you rather, you know, stay put, have the opportunity of being read or somebody reading it and explaining what it is to you. It is important because the judge, you know, that's for judges, they have their own views on things. They've shown sufficient independence in this. And I think that particularly for the communicators and the journalists, you know, if you don't know, just don't go there. Because there's a danger of contempt even after the case. In fact, that is when the real contempt begins.
All right.
Well, for most part yesterday, I told them that there was no judgment to consider. All we have is that the judges had voted. So we're told the pattern of the voting. Now, how do you do analysis when you have not seen the reasons which informed them in coming to arriving at the conclusions that they did? So I would still urge them to hold on until we've gotten the decisions and make sure that we get people who understand them to explain. And thereafter, the discussions can begin.
I think the plea should also go to the judicial service as well.
Well, I'm told they are working on it, and that this afternoon it may be ready. I have been told the problem that really led to the delay. So this afternoon, I'm told it will be ready. They are still in the office working on it.
I've had occasion to suggest to them that I didn't understand why there is no a website that is functional so that matters of public interest, like the Waterville matters and all of these things that are coming up, immediately after they are delivered, you put them up so that people can have the benefits.
They do have
what I mean is that you
The
go
summary
there
of the
today and
judgment.
ask yourself what is available on that website.
The summary of the
All right.
judgment.
On that note, I wish to thank all of you for tuning in and keeping your dials here on your Joy News channel on Multi TV and on Joy 99.7 FM, and there are over a dozen affiliate stations that you have been listening into all across the country, and also for our listeners in the UK and elsewhere in Europe, watching on ABN television, Sky Channel 290. My guests have been Abdul Malik Kwekubako Jr., Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, Ni Ayikwe Otu, former Attorney General, Nana Atodazi, former Chief of Staff, and Abraham Amalba with the NDC legal team. I am Samson Ladi Ayenini. The show was produced by Sedem Ofori, assisted by Emmanuel Ante. Thank you very much. The show will be repeated at 9:30 this evening. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.